Howdy, everybody, and welcome to the Yellowbird Hotline Podcast, the podcast where your favorite hot sauce company answers questions from our customers that we are not qualified to answer. You can get your questions on the podcast by calling or texting 855-700-BIRD. That's 855-700-BIRD. We just added texting for you people. I also want to mention, we never really advertise on this site, but we are a hot sauce company. We've got a discount code for our podcast listeners. You can go to yellowbirdfoods.com, enter code hotline10 at checkout, and you get 10% off of your purchase of anything on the website. 10% off on. Hey everybody, how's everybody doing this morning?
So good.
So good.
Awesome.
But I do want to preface this podcast today by saying the questions that we're going to answer, we are qualified to answer.
Oh.
Aren't we? Aren't
Yeah, well, that's a good...
In an unexpected twist.
Plot twist.
Let me introduce you guys. Kelsey, I hope you have that rap horn ready, because I want to introduce you guys to Yellowbird's, what's your title? Director of Operations, Chief Operations Officer, the head honcho, the guy who takes all of my crazy ideas and figures out how to drag them into physical reality, Mr. Kevin Uplinger.
Another one.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the podcast, Kevin. We have had you on here before. We talked about we argued about sour cream and yogurt, and I thought it'd be cool to get Kevin on the podcast. And we are going to take a little break. I know I just gave our phone number. We're going to take a little break this week from answering customer questions on the hotline number to answer some. We're creating a new segment. And we're going to either call it Ask Kevin or Kevin's Corner. Tweet at us and let us know which one is better. Kevin's Corner would be 2 Ks. Obviously, Corner would be with a K as well. So
yeah. Well, I would say though, the Ask ends with a K and Kevin starts with a K too. So that gives you a really great opportunity from a graphic standpoint.
Yeah, to say Ask
I don't
Kevin.
think that works.
Ask Kevin.
Yeah.
That is 3 Ks.
Let's not do that. Let's definitely not do that. No, as you know.
I think
I just like the idea of calling it Ask Kevin.
Ask Kevin. I do. Yeah. So on this episode of Ask Kevin, so we are going to we're going to give Kevin a couple of questions. These are going to be food related questions. Kevin's got a lot of years of experience in food and food manufacturing. So like, most of the like behind the scenes knowledge that you're like, man, I wonder how this works. Kevin's got it in his brain somewhere, and the point of this segment is to dig it out one piece at a time.
That's right. We're mining for gold.
So today, Kelsey's going to ask. Kelsey gets one question, and I get one question. Don't worry, Daniel, Aaron. You guys we're going to do this segment again. You guys will get your turn.
Good. I have a lot of questions.
Kevin, I've got a burning question.
Well, you can't ask it on this episode.
I don't know. Is that appropriate? That doesn't sound appropriate for this podcast.
Oh, it burns. Oh, it burns so bad.
It sounds medical.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a food question.
The only ointment for this burning is Kevin's brain.
But I'm sure Kevin would listen because, he's that kind of person.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
I got time.
Let's Kelsey, do you want to kick off this episode of Ask Kevin?
I would love to. I actually have a question that we have had for a really long time. And as someone on our team who spends most of my day in the comments section talking to our customers about ingredients and specifics around the sauce, something that we always get asked about is we have salt. Just your dear friend salt as an ingredient in our sauces. And that really opens up like a whole world because people want to know if it's sea salt, if it's kosher salt, if it's salt from the Great Barrier Reef. And, that's something I've never really questioned salt. I just figured it was just marketing words. But Kevin, I know that there's like so many different kinds of salt. So I guess what is salt? What's the difference? How does it work? Why is it salty? Help.
All right. So essentially salt comes from two different ways. Either sea salt, which is obviously, it's in the name, it comes from the sea. It's just dried out ocean water. So that's pretty simple there for that one. And then there's mine salt. That's salt that comes from different mines across the world. And then it just depends on if you end up processing it more. Like if you take it to the next level where you get your table salt, that's fully refined salt. And each one has a different characteristic depending on what you want and what you desire. I know some people will say, pink salt tastes so much better than regular table salt. But honestly, the only reason why it tastes better is because it's just coarser. It hasn't been processed. And so as it goes in your mouth, it kind of scratches your tongue. Whereas table salt that's been refined is very smooth. And so it just kind of bounces off your tongue instead of scratching it. So yeah, it just kind of depends on which one you want to go with and how you want to do it. I know some people will live and die by sea salt just because it comes from the sea. But actually, sea salt probably has the most plastic in it because it comes from the sea, and there's a lot of trash in the ocean, and that's kind of gets processed.
But even with that, Kevin, I mean, how much actual sodium chloride has to be, what percentage, I guess, of this product has to be, sodium chloride for it to even be called salt, right? Because I mean, you say sea salt has other stuff in it, some contaminants in there, but what percentage of the salt would have contaminants or micronutrients? Or people ask us all the time about little micro minerals and stuff in Himalayan salt. I'm I don't know that there's a whole lot in there.
The minerals, the added trace minerals.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's very slim, but you brought up pink Himalayan salt. So that one's actually, the reason why it's pink is because it's the iron in the mine that it comes from, and it's rust.
Ooh, it's oxidized.
Tasty rust.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I was
got a
wondering
patina.
what the pink was. Yeah, because I
So-
love pink.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was rust.
Beautiful rust. It's
Little-
nice looking
little-
rust.
Yeah, little things you don't know.
It's
I
kind of
mean,
like how flamingos eat shrimp and it makes them pink.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
enjoyed them too, but I didn't know it was shrimp the whole time.
Well,
So-
when you're talking about refining the salt, what is that like? How do they refine salt?
it's just
They
how
send it to a fancy school in New England.
Yeah.
So refined.
Is that where you went, Daniel?
Yeah, clearly. Hey man, we're both wearing collared shirts. I should ask you the same question.
I didn't pop it yet.
That's
Oh.
that's another school of refinement. Wow.
Wow, look at that.
Popped collar.
That's
Top
right.
color schools.
But, is it grinding it or is it
Yeah, it's just
chemicals? Because I feel like a lot of people, we get that question a lot about
Mhm.
people assume that refining or processing means that you're using chemicals or doing something untoward. What does that mean in salt?
Torward?
most of the table salts that get refined they're cleaned with some sort of chemicals. That way you're not just eating dirt. So they got to be separated, and they are using chemicals to get it to just sodium chloride. But there's different ways of doing it. There's an organic way of doing it, which just doesn't allow caking additives in.
Yeah.
Most table salts will cake after about, 3-4 months from the humidity. And so you add a non-caking additive to it to keep it from clumping up. But most people don't know that. It's not on the ingredient list. It's not on the label. But that's just something they add to it to keep it from.
You could throw some rice in your salt.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think,
Right.
is that the reason that they put rice and salt at outdoor patios and stuff?
For humidity. Mm-hmm.
I think so, but it's not good. It's not useful.
No.
It's like when you drop your phone in the toilet and you have to get the water out of it as quickly as possible, and you put it in a bucket of dry rice.
Mhm.
I don't know if that does anything. That might be
It does.
another.
It does because I've done it, and
That
it
might be
works.
another episode of Kevin's Corner.
Absolutely, and
We talk
and
about-
and Daniel would know as well.
Oh man, listen, it gets like Chicago sewer water out of your phone in a hurry.
Well,
I can
think that
also speak to that.
The power of
Basmati.
rice.
I think I had also read, because you're talking about like the micronutrients or something. I feel like I had read someplace that you would have to eat so much of this, like these specialty salts to get the trace minerals or whatever, to get any of that mineral, that you would like die from
Salt
Oh, yeah,
consumption.
you're-
salt
Oh.
poisoning or something.
Yeah, your heart would explode.
So like if you're trying to get iron from Himalayan pink salt, like that's
Not a good-
probably
not a
one of
good
the
way to
least
get iron.
efficient ways to get iron to your body, I think.
Does
Correct.
salt have sugar in it? I feel like I've heard that before. That like
You're talking about
Salger.
You're talking about Salger, yeah.
Salger.
or does
Different
sugar
part.
have salt in it? Do you know what I mean? Is that a thing besides Salger?
What is? Hang on, I'm not
How-
smart. What is Salger?
Salger is from Parks
Oh.
and Rec. It's
Okay.
Leslie Note mixes equal parts salt and sugar and calls
She
it
creates
Salger.
a new condiment after she stayed up all night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nobody's done this in real life.
Kettle corn.
No, I mean people put
I've definitely done that in real life.
people put salt and sugar together, and I mean we put salt and sugar together in some of our recipes. Oh, look at that, bringing it right back home.
Salger that shit. So I just like to keep a salt block around, and whenever I feel like I don't have enough salt, I just give it a good lick.
Just like
Yeah.
a cow or a hamster.
So like I actually like after I got, it's funny that we're talking about salt, because I got like served an ad on Instagram or something yesterday for some like mountain salt, and what they were touting was that the path to this particular salt mine had been discovered by goats.
I
That
love
was like
goats.
I can't remember the brand name, and I don't want to like throw them under the boat, but like they were selling this premium salt, and their entire marketing campaign was that this salt mine had been discovered by goats, and they were like, it's got to be good because goats found
It's
it.
go to be good.
Hey.
Oh yeah.
Does it have goat saliva like on the salt? Like
I
The
hope
goats
so.
don't mind. No, the
find
goats-
it and say, "Hey,
How
here
about-
it is, guys."
Does it have goat poop in
Stop.
it too?
Well, because
Kinda
I've
like
heard
the-
about like coffee beans that have to go through the goat's
Oh, what are those
digestive
coffee
tract.
beans? That's
Oh.
yeah.
The cat poop coffee.
Cat
yeah.
poop
Ooh.
coffee. That's what it is.
Go
What?
on.
What kind of ads are y'all getting?
You ever heard of the cat poop coffee?
I've had some. It's not. I mean, it's fine. It's fine.
But
It's
Kevin, I want to come
fine.
back to like you were talking about particle size being like the big differentiator and how salt tastes. Like, how does that work? Like, how does that work with in our mouth?
The sensory part.
How does that
How
work
do
on
mouths work?
Yeah,
your mouth?
I mean,
Yeah,
like,
how,
like
how,
if you've got-
how do tongues work,
I don't
Kevin?
know. I mean, you're talking like you get more flavor from. Did you say you get more flavor from like a bigger salt crystal because of, or like
Is it-
something that's coarser?
Yeah, because if it's not like, if it's coarse, it'll scratch your tongue, and so it hits your taste buds as it goes down. And that's why people will say like pink Himalayan salt, you don't have to use as much, because you can taste it more.
Yeah.
And so you're consuming less sodium chloride, which is better for your heart. And so a lot of people will steer clear of refined salts. They'll stick towards like kosher salts. Yeah, it's a tongue twister. Are less refined as well.
What about if you fine grind the Himalayan pink salt rocks? Does it still taste as salty, or at that point does it not because they're finely ground?
Oh yeah. Is it like the crystal shape of the salt, or is it? I don't. Oh, this is fun.
So your grinder is not gonna smooth it out. It's not a smoother.
What if I get one of those like fancy microplaners from Williams Sonoma?
Oh
What?
yeah.
Have you seen like the salt microplaners?
No.
Am I the only
I
one?
don't want one.
Maybe it was Sky Mall. I don't remember where I saw this thing. Yeah.
I don't shop on Williams Sonoma. So.
Not yet.
Yeah.
There you go. Give it
Yeah.
time, man.
You have to go to the Sky Mall website now to shop. They don't put them in airplanes anymore.
They're not in the sky. They're just a regular
Yeah,
mall.
they're just a regular mall.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good
Regular
point.
Isn't-
overpriced mall.
Isn't the internet in the sky though? Isn't that where it lives?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Hey Kevin, how does the internet work?
No.
No questions from Daniel this week.
Shoot.
Daniel, you'll have your turn. You'll get your turn.
Oh,
Nope.
it's Burns.
Don't worry, we'll have Al Gore on here one time.
Yeah.
What?
He's a listener of the
You-
podcast.
and
Oh,
the
you know
creator
he
of the
is.
internet.
And the creator of the internet.
Yeah, for all of our young listeners out there.
Isn't that DARPA?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So salt is I mean, is the answer kind of that salt is salt? That I mean, there's different kinds of processes. The biggest thing it sounds like one of the biggest things that you will notice is the difference in like the texture, if it's coarse or
It's
fine.
the grind.
It's
all about
all
the
about the
grind.
grind.
Yeah. It's all about the grind.
So if
salt
you're
is salt
making,
is salt, but the grinds are different.
if you're making like one of the things that like, we used to we don't usually talk hot sauce on this podcast, but we'll do that for a minute. Like like I used to use kosher salt in the hot sauce like years ago, because you could buy these giant boxes of kosher salt, and kosher salt I learned years later is just koshering salt. There's nothing kosher about the actual salts. We might talk.
It hasn't been blessed. It's just
right.
for
It hasn't been
koshering
blessed. It's just for
process.
koshering meats. So it's mostly just koshering salt. And so like when you dissolve it in something like when you dissolve it in a sauce, or when you dissolve it in a liquid, then it's dissolved. You don't get any of the effect of like the fact that the crystals are bigger or rougher or anything like that. And so it was like I realized that like if I switched types of salt, it didn't really like, as long as it was just salt, you could use Himalayan salt or goat salt or what
goat
ice
salt.
cream like salt, ice cream salt, like the big rock salt. As long as you use the same weight of salt, it tasted exactly the same. Because there's just like, but if you're gonna put it on a steak or something, you want those coarse crystals. And you know
Maybe,
what?
right?
You know what?
Speaking of steaks.
yeah, no, I've got a great segue because
Segue. Wah, 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 wah. Wait, is it time? I feel like it's time for that segue. Yeah.
I think
You
we
guys
just got to
just
do
wanna
the
do
rap horn. People know the rap horn. We can just do it with our mouths, right?
Yeah.
Honk, 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 honk. Is
Yeah,
that it?
that's it. That's how it
Nailed
goes.
it.
Honk, honk. Okay. Our second question for Kevin's corner.
Of asking.
Kevin's crazy corner. No, we're not going to use that one. Is
Ask
so Kevin,
Kevin.
you have worked in this is not hot sauce related. You've worked in meat plants. I always ask questions if I got a question about meat. I ask Kevin, and now we're going to officialize that. But my question is, I hear all sorts of stuff about like beef aging. I know there's dry aged beef and there's like smoked beefs. There's all kinds of like things. I guess there's all kinds of reasons that people like leave meat sitting around or leave beef sitting around. My question for you is like, what is dry aging? What is dry aged beef? What does that mean? How do they do it? And if there is a such thing as dry aging, is there wet aging? What is that? Why would you do it?
Follow up to that too. What actually is a beef cake, and how do I find one?
Yeah, that's maybe another episode as well.
Yep, that's Daniel's
Save
next
that.
question.
Yeah, save that for your
That's
question.
Daniel after
Ah.
dark.
Phooey.
And if
Or
you need
Dad.
a beefcake, I'll bring Jason in here real quick.
My man.
Let's see. So beef aging, essentially all beef goes through some sort of aging process. Normally it's all wet aged because once it gets cut from the cow gets quartered out and subrammeled, which means put in different sections of whether or not it's like a tenderloin, a ribeye, different parts of the cow. It goes into cryovac bags, which is just a big old vacuum pack bag. And at that point, it's actually wet aging. It already started that process. And essentially, all the process is the enzymes inside the cow are just working their magic on the meat, and just making it more tender. If you wet age, it's in a bag. If you dry age, you're leaving it out in an open room, essentially. Just two different styles. That's why typically I'll tell people to always grab the fajita meats that have the least amount of shelf life left, because they've been sitting there not only marinating but aging inside the package for longer, so the meat will be more tender, which is the whole goal of aging, is to make the meat as tender as possible. It's kind of like cheese. I know it's gross, but similar to making cheese.
I love cheese.
So that's it's in either case, it's the enzymes of there's no, like with cheese they're adding stuff, but with beef aging, it's just the enzymes from the animal that are still there.
Correct. Yeah. It's just what's the natural enzymes just working their magic.
And then I learned something interesting about choosing meats. If you ask a butcher, they're probably going to tell you to get the ground beef because they have to carcass balance everything, because everybody wants the ribeyes. So get something that people don't want. Carcass balancing.
I love ground beef.
I'm all for it. So so Kevin, I guess, again, you can't just take a steak that's been sitting on the counter for a week and then just throw it on the grill, can you? Is there anything, once it's been dry aged for a little while, is there a second step before you eat it, or am I just not understanding how the world works?
So if you dry age, usually most of the time, pretty much all the time, you'll take the outer shell off, because you'll get a different style texture, but the meat on the inside has been aged, so it kind of creates a special barrier on itself. But yeah, I mean, I age pretty much everything I eat as long as I can, just because you get a much richer flavor once you're done.
If you were to tell us how to age at home in the most simple way, I have no idea how to do this and I have never done it. So how, in the most simple steps, would I age a ribeye? Or is that what I would age? I don't even know. What would I age?
So you would want to age something that has either the bone still in it or quite a bit of fat, because there's a lot more enzymes at those parts that allow for the flavor to get out to the meat better. But the easiest way to do it is get a vacuum sealer, and you can buy the steak at your local grocery store. You just throw it in the vacuum seal, vacuum it up, and you can wet age it longer. And usually you can sometimes you can age up to 60 days.
Is this in the refrigerator, or is this just sitting out with all of us just on the counter?
So if you're wet aging and the meat's already cut, it's got to be you pretty much got to put it in the fridge.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a whole subprimal, then you can leave it out and do a dry age.
Where would you leave it out? Where do they?
Not at your house.
Yeah, what is it?
Next to the TV. Yeah.
On the desk.
What is a dry?
Just
what is
right
a dry?
above the litter box.
Oh no.
What is
Get all those extra flavors.
What is a dry? What does a dry aging room look like? I'm assuming there's a dry aging room or something.
Yeah, so you have to it's temperature, so you can't have it too hot in there,
Mm-hmm.
or else obviously the meat will just spoil. And then you have to have the right amount of humidity in the room, and then airflow. That's a lot of the problems people have when they try to do dry age, is they don't have the airflow part. So then whatever bacteria gets on the meat just sits on it real quick, and then it just spoils it real fast. Whereas if you have airflow going by, it'll kind of create that hardened shell around the dry aged meat. But yeah, usually, unless you have a special room or a special box, dry aging is next to impossible at your house.
Not for the home user.
Yeah, because you wouldn't put it in your fridge, because then you're going to pick up all the flavors from your fridge. So, you know, the spoiled milk or whatever you have in your fridge at the time, it's going to get soaked up into your steak.
You.
Yeah.
In my fridge, it'll taste like cheap IPAs and Go-Gurt.
I'll leave the dry aging to bangers and salt and thyme.
Do you
Thanks,
guys?
I guess that makes sense. So much more sense to me now when I go and see that on a menu. I always thought that was like fancy, but I didn't really understand the process. Can I ask one more meat question while we're on the subject?
Yeah.
When things say that they're prime, like what does that mean? I always assume it means
Oh,
it's
I know.
good.
It means you get free 2-day shipping.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
On my meats.
Oh, poor prime steaks.
Or like 4 to 7 day shipping now. You know,
Ooh,
whatever they can
shade.
squeeze out. Whatever
It's
they
gonna
can
it's
squeeze out.
gonna dry age on your porch for a
With
couple
some
days.
Jeff
Couple hours.
shade.
Yeah.
Don't kick us out, Jeff.
We are available on Amazon for now.
So yeah, so prime is just a grade of the cow before they have,
So it's like A
Only-
plus.
yeah,
Cow.
there's
You
only a select
completed
few
that test.
people in the entire world that are allowed to grade cattle.
Mhm.
And they'll go to the feedlots and they'll actually pick out the cows, and they can tell a cow from just standing there whether or not it's most likely going to be prime, choice, or select, which is the grades of meat. And then they'll buy them and send them off to the slaughterhouses. And usually those guys, and they make a lot of money because they're really good at what they do, are almost 100% accurate. And the meat that comes out is going to have a lot better marbling, like the fat structure inside the cow is going to be better, so the flavor is more distributed. And that's why, like, a lot of reasons why in the United States the meat is so much better than other countries is because just that one process of being able to pick out which cows are.
So hold on, you're telling me that there's like that there are like people.
Yep.
Like when I buy it, because this is a good question that is now blowing my mind. But like when I buy a prime like cut of something, it's because some dude.
Oh, George,
with-
you've never gone through 4-H, have you?
No.
No. Okay.
What did y'all learn about this in 4-H?
Absolutely. This was like all part of showing your animal.
Don't you condescend to me with your 4-H knowledge?
George only has 2 H's.
I don't think I ever got 2 H's. That's right. I'm halfway there. But it's just because some guy was like, "That's the one right there."
So
Yes.
that's the first part of differentiating the cows, is that selection process. Now, once it goes to the slaughterhouse and starts getting cut up, they'll then grade it again, and there's somebody there that will grade it. But like a lot of times, even when you go to the grocery store, there might be too much prime on the market to where you go buy choice steak, and it's actually a prime steak in there, but they got to move it. And so then all of a sudden you're getting prime steak at choice price, but the store they're just trying to move the product at that point.
I'm just imagining like some dude like at a feedlot, because there's gonna be like thousands of head of cattle at a feedlot, and so like there's some dude with a clipboard going, too skinny, choice, too fat, choice, just right, prime, too skinny, too, like there's somebody just like tapping each one on the head, like poking shoulders and going, oh yeah, that's a prime haunch.
That's exactly
That's what one of the
happened.
H's is for haunch.
Man.
As
Blowing my
it
mind.
goes through the slots, the chutes,
Wow.
point them in different pins.
I was hoping they
Wow.
got blue ribbons or something,
Yeah, exactly.
like a pretty bow.
I think their owners do. Their people do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The people who get paid for them.
Yeah.
Man.
That's right. The people who are
So,
going to live longer than another month.
Yeah. So it is kind of a marketing term, like you were saying, but really it is based on like someone's selection and choice.
Yeah, so prime one or whatever, that's been named that because of marketing. But
Interesting.
That is interesting. That's a good follow.
Yo, can we get one of those guys on the show, George?
No, I don't know any
A
of those
cow
guys.
primer?
I bet I could find one. I bet I could find one. Let me do some work.
I
We
would
have
love to talk to
Ben
one.
from Salt and Time. I bet he would know.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
There's got to be like a Reddit board for
Is
that.
this gonna turn into a meat podcast?
No.
Well, no, I'm
I
just thinking
mean-
too, like there's got to be some nerds right now who are like trying to create some AI solution for this too. I'm like, I want to meet the robot selector,
Yeah.
MIT or wherever it is.
Is that
Prime.
like,
Now
Not
it's all fake
Prime.
meats. Now it's all now
Exactly.
it's beyond and impossible, and that's how they're gonna grow meats. And
That's
they're
right.
Not, yeah.
This
And they're
is
not
one
actually
prime
meat.
meat analog.
I was just thinking about in all the like cartoons and movies where the aliens come down and abduct a cow and they're like, oh no, we didn't get a prime one.
This one is prime. Well, hold on. I got another meat question because I just realized that I'm not really sure what like cured meat is.
It means it was sick, but now it's not.
It got better.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Isn't that right, Kevin?
I don't mess with cured meat.
Just tell me I'm right.
Yeah, Daniel.
Okay.
Daniel is 100% correct.
Mhm.
But that's not so curing and aging aren't the same thing.
No.
Curing, you gotta add some stuff.
You
Yeah.
seem very thoroughly disgusted by cured meat.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't stick. I don't,
Slim Jim is not a sponsor of this podcast.
Like what? Like deli meats are cured meats, right?
Some are. Yeah.
Man, I don't know anything about meats. Well,
Meets me.
that was our segment, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the first edition of Ask Kevin.
Mhm.
It'll get better.
I've got
I
a
don't-
great question for you
I-
for next week.
I
so
don't want it.
just-
We're not doing it again next week. We don't record
He's
every
so
week,
blown.
guys.
He has to take a month to record.
I already got fired.
We only record we only record. If you guys want to start recording every week,
Oh,
Yeah.
then 2 weeks from now, I've
Well,
got a great
I-
question for Kevin's corner.
Yeah. I want to know if our audience has any like food related questions that we could actually answer.
oh yeah,
By us, I mean Kevin.
yeah. Well, hey, that's a good segue into the end of the podcast, where I say that you can get your questions answered by us by calling or texting 855-700-BIRD. That's 855-700 BIRD. Hey Kevin, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
I want to remind everybody again that you can go to our website, yellowbirdfoods.com, enter code hotline10 at checkout for 10% off. Tell them that we sent you. There's not actually a box.
Yeah, no, leave it in the notes. Leave it in the notes.
You
We
can
sent
leave it
you.
in the notes. Yeah, you can do that.
I'll read those notes.
Until next time, don't forget to hug your dogs and stay spicy out there. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.